Warning, the following video will include subjects of domestic violence, sexual assault, and taking advantage of a grieving family. This is a very serious video that I have to make, and I've even asked permission from the loved ones for. Thank you. I never once in my life expected on my YouTube channel to be bringing my real life so deeply into one of my videos. But I'm doing this not for myself, unfortunately. I have to do this for the people that were wronged at the moment. Very deeply. A couple of disclaimers. I do not live in South Carolina anymore, or Charleston. I did when this happened. I had to lie and say that I moved away because there were people trying to find my location through the person that this happened to. I talked about how a coworker of mine was murdered by her abusive romantic partner, and someone by the name of Persica Sapient, the sadist that she is, decided it would be fun to try to use that as leverage to intimidate me and say that she would use the information to contact where I work and get me fired, because online harassment and stalking is a sport for people nowadays. That's honestly something so unbelievably heartless, malicious, lacking empathy, tone-deaf, and just plain horrible of you, to use someone else's own traumatic event for your entertainment. Because this is an extremely traumatic situation for me and the people around, and it's even a spit in the face of her memory. I'm not sure if you've had someone murdered in your life, or let alone survived what I have, and the victim. But if you haven't, how dare you? That's more on the personal side, however. That's something I had to throw out given my involvement in the situation and provide a clarification about why I didn't make this video sooner. But that's not what the video is about today. It's actually something much more disturbing and malicious when you think about the layers behind it. Keep in mind that the person I'm making the video about doesn't have a straight story, at least from what we found. So there may be some inconsistent details, but that's only because of what we've heard versus what we've seen. Because of the fact that I've actually moved away from the location for a numerous amount of reasons, especially including my health, given that I have lupus and I need extensive medical care, and I can't provide for myself right now, and I've not said a single thing about where I live online, I am finally able to talk about this without putting myself in physical danger. Unfortunately, much like the victim of the video that I'm going to be talking about, I was a domestic violence victim. I haven't been able to get justice. He's a free man who keeps an eye on my social media and wants to know where I am at all times. He knew where I was in South Carolina, so I had to be safe for a while, because if people knew my location, they would give it to him. And I didn't want that. Depending on the timing of this video and when it comes out, would actually be around the time he actually did this to me. I have debated coming forward fully about what he's done. I have to heal first. But summarizing, in November of 2023, for an entire week, I was taken from where I lived in South Carolina when I was in a bad situation, and I was with someone I met online who I trusted by the name of Thank You Libe on Twitter. Here is the mugshot and information. He lulled me into a false sense of security, and, without mincing words, raped and beat me and isolated me and mentally abused me for an entire week from a road trip from where I was in Charleston to Corpus Christi, Texas. And he even kept me hostage in his apartment bedroom. It ended when he tried to finally kill me by trying to poison me or attempting to. I convinced him in his psychosis to give me my phone back because he kept me out of contact with everyone I knew for an entire... I then told a friend and they called the police. 2 months later, he was released from jail. He is a free man online. I survived with emotional scars that will not heal for quite a while, making me agoraphobic, afraid of men in situations I used to not be, and triggered by things I used to not be, such as taking showers, which actually used to be a coping mechanism for me, and is now just something that makes me relive that nightmare. He keeps an eye on me. He makes sure he knows where I am at all times and what I'm doing. He has talked about me. He has sent me horrific things. I survived him. At least I had the chance to heal, even if it comes at the cost of my mental health. The victim that I'm about to talk about didn't get to be so lucky. And the person who the video is about, I'm not going to be able to kind to, at least like I was at the memorial. and I think that the family deserves proper justice after a recent development that's happened. I've discussed and I've asked permission for this, and I've even run the script by the loved ones personally. I will be using the victim's name in her situation, and the details about the person who, unfortunately, squandered her GoFundMe money. March 29th, 2025, in Charleston, South Carolina, West Ashley, Cheryl Lynn Stipula, lovingly known as Peanut and Cherbear at age 47, was found murdered in domestic violence by her at-the-time romantic partner, Jamie McKinney, age 44. I won't give the specific details of exactly how she was found and what happened for the safety and comfort of the family and loved ones, but I've been told behind the scenes, and it is not pretty. Coroners have also reported that she died a week before on March 22nd, meaning her body was left there for an entire week to rot, which is something haunting to think about. While addiction itself doesn't make somebody a bad person, as someone who's a sober alcoholic himself and comes from a family of addicts, however, Jamie was untreated and in turn acted violently through his addiction. He could also easily overpower Cheryl. He was a hulking 6'4", and she was an inch shorter than me at 4'9", at only 90 pounds, while he was 207. He was physically far more able to overpower her, and there's a lot of danger in mixing untreated anger and emotional issues and having an addiction. From what I gather, this was a cocktail for violent, abusive, and repulsive impulses he didn't control and took out on Cheryl. The gruesome details of the story, I think, should be left out for the rest of this as far as everything else that was endured, if only for the benefit of her loved ones, not having to relive the gruesome details of the abuse, even if it's important people understand these situations. That is a monster, and he will get his goddamn forthcomings. But unfortunately, the story just doesn't end here. I went to the memorial, and seeing as I was her co-worker, and my boss understood how traumatic the situation was that I had just started working with her for a month or two, and all of a sudden my co-worker was ripped away from me in a gruesome and traumatic way, let alone the fact that I was a victim of what she had been through. I went to the memorial in order to express how I felt and give condolences to the loved ones and hopefully give them strength. The following footage is actually my part of the memorial speech. I've had it privated on my page for a very long time for previously spoken reasons, again for privacy, and also respect for the situation, but also the fact that I knew putting her name out there would in fact be doxing myself. Now that I don't have to worry about that, I will gladly show the footage.
I obviously did not know Cher as well as everyone, but I don't sit here for no reason. I was working for Lowe's in Leaf Filter for 1 month, and I was a newbie. I was scared. I was terrified. I was so nervous because I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to do good at this. What do I do? And every day I passed by her department, every day I saw her smiling, waving, getting those 5-gallon buckets of paint. She was a bright sunshine. She talked to me. She called me over and said, hey, come on over. Let's see how you doing. You knew, how are you doing? And she always asked me how my day was. And all I knew her as was the bright ball of sunshine, the beautiful spirit that always cheered my day whenever I passed by her, and the person who also is from up north, because I'm from Massachusetts, and we got into discussions about that. Hey, fellow New Englander, how you doing over there? But now I stand here after what I learned about in the break room, that she was murdered by her husband in domestic violence, and this is vulnerable to me. I was in a situation like hers. In 2023, I was brutally abused and trapped in an apartment by the person I loved for 1 week until he tried to kill me, and my friends back in South Carolina called for help when we were in Texas. I wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for them, and I stand here now because I understand that I met someone not only beautiful for her kindness, her happiness, her joy, but her strength that I never knew what she was going through. But she felt a kindred spirit in me as someone who, likely in all of my timid body language and my sorries and my stuttering and my anxiety, that I possibly went through something similar she was. Because when you are in that situation, you can empathize. And I know there are so many people here that are loved ones that don't know how to deal with this emotion. For one, I don't know how to deal with this emotion that I survived and she didn't. So, and even worse, mine got out of jail 2 months after what he did, and he is still a free man. He stalks me online, and he plays the victim. And I've said for the year that I have been dealing with him, if I had died, people would believe my story, because there are people who don't. And that shouldn't happen. It should not come to death that victims are so afraid to come forward that they think they won't be believed. Because that's what happened. She couldn't feel her voice. She couldn't let her voice be heard out of fear of not being believed or something that happens in society, and the laws are bad here. He is still allowed to talk about me. He is still allowed to say horrible things about me, and the man that did this to her should not be allowed to get free either. I don't say this to make this about me, but I say this for all victims of domestic violence who have been through what I have been through, what she has been through, and who are still going through it, that no one deserves this fate. Not only do you lose your belongings sometimes, but you lose yourself as a person in domestic violence. And the fact that Cher kept her kindness and her love for life, her babies that she told me about and showed me pictures of, goodness gracious, Chewy, little Chewy. But I say this to say that you lose yourself as a person, and she didn't. And I admire her so much more than I thought I already did when I worked with her. I admired her as a kind spirit, a leader, a guider, and someone who I could just turn to go for a smile and to ask, how you doing? And I even offered her a drink from the vending machine. So no, baby, you good. Hey, you want something for lunch? I'll get you. We got some barbecue out there. No, I'm fine. You're good. She was strength. She was beauty. And she inspires me not only to stop being afraid of what I went through and who put me through it, but she inspires me to help make these laws better, not on behalf of just myself, but other people who had this happen, because this shouldn't happen. And I've said that for a long time. This shouldn't have happened, not just to me, but to others. I know so many people are angry, so many people are confused. How could this happen? And some people even blame themselves, because I have loved ones who do that, but you shouldn't. Because the person who should blame themselves is the person that will never feel sorry. And that is the worst cruelty that can happen. So what we do is we stick together and we fight. We fight for what is right. We fight for the person who didn't get to see this fight and who didn't get to use their voice, and we will be that voice for them. Thank you.
After the memorial, I was able to get in contact with loved ones of hers who actually came up and talked to me after. I haven't been as active online in the situation or involved just because I've been dealing with my own things with my health, such as dealing with recently being diagnosed with lupus and what that comes with, figuring out how to manage my health and symptoms, and also shortly after everything I wound up in the hospital. It was a mix of reliving what my ex did to me through the situation, the grief, and prior online harassment mentioned that I faced lung after a suicide attempt. Be that as it may, I finally have started looking into the situation again recently after properly moving in with my partner and adjusting to things. Unfortunately, this is a recent development and I'm extremely angry about it, and this is why I'm making this video. I did want to originally make a video on her situation to get awareness out, but again, I had to be protective of my own well-being and have self-preservation at the time. So that the person running the GoFundMe and who would be angry about the situation cannot under any circumstance flag this video. I won't be saying their name in it, and instead I'll be saying the placement of who they are in the situation. They are the person who ran the GoFundMe and made it for Cheryl Stipula, and the GoFundMe reads as follows. The GoFundMe money was supposed to be for family and loved ones grieving. While the stipulations of the funds weren't exactly clarified, poorly actually given the situation now looking at it, it's clear that the original intended purpose was stated to be for the grieving family. The runner of the GoFundMe was not family. This person claimed to be a close friend of Cheryl when she was alive. I'll be extremely honest and say I am not and was not close to Cheryl. You can still be affected by a situation like I have, and you cannot be close to a person. The person has said that they were her best friend, so we all took that and said, okay, and we've supported the grieving. People have found out that this person has, allegedly, lied about the extent of their bond with Cheryl as of late. October 21st, a loved one who will be kept anonymous for the sake of not receiving harassment or anything and giving them time to process and grieve this horrific event, had correspondence with the runner of the GoFundMe. The following screenshots show the following discussion and admission. As you can see, Cheryl's money was squandered, 9.5 thousand was raised, and 9.2 thousand was allegedly spent on debt, quote unquote, for Cheryl. Drug debt for the killer himself, Jamie. I think you can read that sentence and completely understand what the hell everyone's immediate reaction is. For fucking who? Why would you care about any debt given to the person that took your friend's life, let alone abused them in a romantic relationship? Do you know what my friends would have done, who saved me from my abusive ex, if I was murdered that day? If I actually didn't survive? If he had some form of debt against him, you know what they do? They laugh! And they say, good, he fucking earned it. Because they still laugh at him. They laugh at what an idiot and a horrible monster he is. What kind of a friend would do that in their friend's memory? So, the story doesn't add up to me. Even worse, family and close loved ones of Cheryl gave this person a roof over their head for the past 6 months or so, rent-free, in order for them to make car payments. People have a suspicion that the money has in fact been used for this car. However, as of Halloween, it was actually repoed. There are very unclear details about the actuality of the situation, but we do have, in their own words, the fact that they did waste that money. It took someone asking for that money that was supposed to be saved aside to find out that it was squandered, let alone without communication of where it was going and being used for. But there's less than 1,000, if not just a little bit over, out of $9.5 thousand. To lose a loved one, a sibling, a daughter, a godmother, a friend, a niece, whatever have you that Cheryl was, to such a traumatic and tragic event that should have never happened alone is already horrible enough. For someone to use your kindness, for someone taking advantage of such a vulnerable situation and use you for a roof over their head, but also use the money that was supposed to be meant for the person you're grieving, and your time of suffering and purposes were not communicated to them, I honestly don't think I have a single thing to say. Nearly $10,000. $10,000 that they are struggling with GoFundMe to get even refunded to every person that donated. $10,000 that they may not get back. So that's why I'm doing this. Because if this situation angers you just as much as it does me, I highly recommend donate in the description below. I'm giving the direct PayPal of one of her loved ones so that you know where your money is going. The name of the person cannot be said in the video, but I'll be showing screenshots of the Google Drive in the description with their name involved in the GoFundMe, because accountability needs to be had. I don't condone harassment. I don't want this person harassed in their real life or anything. If you do know this person, however, and you see this video, I highly recommend dissociating and detaching immediately. And to the family and loved ones of Cheryl, I know that I didn't know her as well as you, and I never want to impose or put my own position in this and act as if I'm just as big a victim as any of you, or I was affected as much as you are with the loss. I did lose an older brother 5 years ago to taking his own life, and I have been a victim of domestic violence, and she was my I did survive what she didn't. And you will never get back what you lost. I only hope that this video can get you at least the money that you lost and some form of peace and justice. I'm truly so sorry for everything you've been through this year, because none of you deserved any of this. And to the person that ran the GoFundMe when you watched this video, I'm very shocked that you tried to tell me directly I misunderstand the situation and should be careful where I tread. When it's your own words, from your own mouth, that you typed. No one can misunderstand that. No one can misunderstand anything you've shown unless you said a lie. No matter what you've said, this was fraud. You misused the money for something it wasn't supposed to be meant for. It was meant for grieving. It was meant for the family. There's allegations that you've done this to other people and have leached off of other grieving families before. But I'm also not personally involved in that deeply, and I can't confirm or deny just because that's not my place. I won't lie and say I was close to Cheryl even if I was affected by the situation, but I will say that if you weren't as close as you said you were, I'm deeply ashamed you took advantage of this grieving family. Thank you all so much for watching. Please show so much love and support and kindness to the support of these people, because they deserve it after everything. As prior stated, around the time this video is coming out, if it's timed as it is around the time my ex-boyfriend did to me what happened to her that I did survive and she didn't. If I can use my situation and my emotional scars and what I've been through to fuel and motivate me to help people that are suffering, then so goddamn be it. I'm not in Charleston anymore, but I love you all so much. Everyone that I'm not there with anymore. Even if I'm constantly going through a lot of medical stuff at the moment and I don't have spoons to interact with you all are in my heart. Especially the people who saved me from my abuser and gave me space to grow and thrive. who couched and supported me often and always. Cheryl's voice was silenced by death, physically, but her story will live on if I can help it. We need to change the laws for domestic violence in this goddamn country. We need to understand that victims are suffering. We need to be better as a society. Even if I survived, I did have days that I would ask myself if it was better if he just took my life that day. Because I live with the reality that I lived with for so long, and I even said at the memorial, if I died, people would have believed me. Cheryl was afraid to come forward about her abuse because of the society we live in, because of the treatment that I know I've personally gotten after. I haven't been believed. I've been harassed over it. I've been demeaned. I've been told I deserved it. I've been told I'm crazy. I've seen sympathy given to the man that raped me and hurt me every day for an entire week and treated me like a toy. I've seen people help him hurt me, who broke my body and soul. Even if her loved ones do believe her, and I'm absolutely sure they would have, we as a society have formed a mentality that victims need more evidence or believable stories, or something that fits your narrative desire for them to come forward and feel like they're heard. It's possible that this monster that killed her, gaslit her into believing it was her fault, took advantage of her understanding the way society is with domestic violence, and making her think no one would believe her, and abandoned her. Otherwise, he possibly simply was able to intimidate her and make sure that people didn't pay attention. It haunts me almost every day, especially recently, that someone so kind and loving to me in the workplace and offered me food at the vending machine and was able to make me smile when I was having horrible anxiety, was suffering so deeply. Behind those kind eyes, she had days she would come in crying and wouldn't say why. She would put off her own emotions for others. But just because she's dead doesn't mean she doesn't deserve to be heard. No victim of domestic violence the way she was, the way I was, the way other people currently are right now deserve to be silenced. Should be told that their story is unbelievable and made to feel like they can't come forward. I have no doubt in my mind that her family would have believed her, and they are nothing to blame. The blame goes on society, and the monsters around us, and the man that ripped her from us. And I blame the runner of the GoFundMe for your suffering and prolonging your grief. I don't think they understand the emotional ramifications of what they've done to you, and I hope this brings you peace. I'll put the name of the PayPal on the screen to donate to, and I'll also link it in the description. Please donate directly. Please get this video spread if you can. Please respect the privacy of the loved ones of Cheryl and don't try to contact or seek them out. Just give them peace during grieving by letting them know this video has had reach, and if you can, donate. That's all I think I have to say for this subject, because I know that there are too many words that can be said and also not enough at the same time. Thank you.